Have you ever noticed how differently people treat you the moment you stop being easy to control? Just pause. What if your strength doesn't inspire admiration, but triggers discomfort instead? And have you ever wondered why the more you free yourself, the more they try to pull you back in? When people realize they can't control you, something shifts. They don't simply walk away, they change their tactics. Instead of asking, they start manipulating. They guilt trip you, make subtle remarks, twist your words, anything to make you doubt yourself. It's like a quiet war you didn't know you were fighting. While you're just living your life, staying true to yourself, they're already working in the background, plotting their return into your mind, your emotions, your choices. And the strangest part is, you often don't see it coming. Stoic philosophy teaches us something powerful. Real strength doesn't come from controlling others, it comes from refusing to be controlled. But let me ask you, are you really free? Or are you still unknowingly reacting to their psychological games? Maybe it's time to break free completely. Stay with me until the end, because the last part of this journey will reveal something most people never see. But first, listen closely to the story of Adam. You'll see yourself in him. Adam was a man who walked his own path. He didn't follow trends or opinions, he made his own decisions. He never allowed others to dictate his choices. And for a while, he believed this would earn him respect. At work, he didn't flinch when his boss tried to intimidate him. Among friends, he didn't bow to pressure or guilt. In his family, he set boundaries that made others uncomfortable. He thought surely being clear, confident, and principled would inspire others. But instead, something odd happened. The very people who once admired him began to change. Friends started calling him selfish. Colleagues who used to praise him began to spread quiet rumors. It didn't make sense until one day, confused and frustrated, Adam sought advice from his mentor, Mr. Cartera, retired businessman known for his deep wisdom. "Why is it," Adam asked, "that when I stop being controlled, people turn against me?" Mr. Carter smiled, then led him outside. In his backyard stood two horses sewn tied to a post, the other roaming free. "Watch," Mr. Carter said. He walked toward the tied horse. It stood still. Then, as he approached the free one, it backed away, cautious and alert. "See?" he asked. "People are like these horses. When they can tie you down, they feel secure. But when you are free, they get nervous. They can't predict you, can't hold you in place, and that scares them." Adam furrowed his brow. "So what do?" he asked. Mr. Carter sighed. "They won't try to set you free. They'll try to break you. They'll call you difficult, selfish, even arrogant. They'll distort your strength and label it as defiance. Not because you're wrong, but because your freedom shines a light on their own chains." That night, Adam understood. It wasn't his confidence or values that made them turn away. It was his refusal to be controlled. So he stopped explaining, stopped seeking approval, stopped letting guilt write his story. And in that stillness, something shifted. The manipulators quietly disappeared. The weak faded into silence. And the ones with real strength, they stayed. Because real strength respects strength. Now, before we move into the first lesson, if this message resonates with you, consider subscribing and turning on notifications to stay updated. Let's begin. Number 1, they try to manipulate you. This is what happens when people realize they can't control you. they switch to manipulation. Because some people deep down are addicted to control. They want to dictate your actions, steer your thoughts, and shape your behavior to fit their needs. But when they see you're independent, when you don't bend, they shift their approach. They stop pushing from the front and start pulling from behind. They don't disappear when they fail to control you, they evolve. Instead of pushing with force, they begin pulling with emotion, using manipulation like a silent weapon cloaked in concern. When someone sees that you're independent, that you don't bend easily, they don't back away. In number, they just shift their method. Instead of direct control, they pivot to something more subtle. They begin playing with your emotions, slowly, carefully trying to make you feel guilty, obligated, or pressured into doing what they want. Have you heard these lines before? After everything I've done for you, this is how you treat me? Or, you're amazing at this. I don't know what I'd do without you. Sounds kind, doesn't it? But beneath the surface lies something else entirely. If guilt and flattery don't work, they switch again. They manufacture urgency or start acting like the victim, whatever it takes to make you feel responsible for their emotions. And the truth is, it's never really about love, kindness, or mutual respect. It's about control, keeping you within reach without looking like they're doing anything at all. This is where Stoic wisdom offers a powerful lens. Lao Tzu once said, "He who controls others may be powerful, but he who has mastered himself is mightier still." That's itself mastery, the ultimate defense against manipulation. You see, manipulators thrive on your emotional reactions. Guilt, doubt, fear, these are the currencies they trade in. But the moment you start recognizing their patterns, and more importantly, refusing to respond, you begin to reclaim your power. Think of manipulation like a game of chess. Every move they make is calculated to make you feel cornered, rushed, or uncertain. They set traps with words. They bait reactions with silence. They wait for you to panic. And if you do, you've already lost the turn. But what happens if you don't move? What if you stay still, calm, alert? What if you observe the board instead of rushing a counterattack? That's when they lose. Because the best way to beat manipulation isn't by fighting harder, it's by refusing to play their game. I remember someone who constantly twisted every situation to their advantage. One day, they asked me for something, a favor I wasn't comfortable granting. I politely declined. Instead of accepting it, they let out a dramatic sigh and said, "Wow, I thought we were closer than that." In that moment, I felt it, that creeping guilt, that sudden need to explain myself. But then I paused. I didn't justify, didn't defend. I just looked at them and calmly said, "I know what you're doing." That sentence, so simple, changed everything. Their expressions shifted. They knew they'd been caught. They stammered, tried to laugh it off, but I didn't engage. And you know what? That was the last time they tried that trick on me. Because once you see manipulation for what it is, it loses its grip. So, how do you deal with people like this? First, recognize the tactic. If someone's making you feel guilty, pressured, or strangely obligated, pause and ask yourself, is this a genuine request or a form of manipulation? Second, stay calm and grounded. The more neutral your response, the less leverage they have. And third, refuse to play. You don't need to argue, defend, or prove anything. Just say no and walk away. Remember, manipulation only works when you engage with it. The moment you stop explaining, stop feeling responsible for someone else's emotions, stop bending your truth for their approval, they lose control. Master yourself, hold your line, and never forget your decisions, your boundaries, and your life are yours alone. Now, let's move into something even lower, another tactic people turn to when they can't control you. They begin spreading lies. When manipulation doesn't work, they escalate, and often they go for your name. If they can't control your actions, they'll try to control how others see you. Not with truth, but with distortion. They attack your reputation, hoping it will shake your confidence, force a reaction, or drag you into their game. Here's the hard reality: false narratives are tools of the weak. When people don't have truth on their side, they reach for gossip, exaggeration, and flat-out lies. Why? Because lies are louder. They want you to panic, to explain, to chase every rumor and defend every accusation. But the moment you do, they've already won. You've stepped onto their battlefield, and now you're dancing to their tune. But here's something to think about. Real power lies in not reacting. Imagine someone throwing mud at you. Your first instinct? Wipe it off. Push back. Respond. But if you do, you just smear it deeper. You spread the mess. What if instead you stood still? Let it dry. Let the air and time do the work. Then quietly brush it off and walk away clean. That's how lies work. The more you fight them, the more you validate them. But when you stand firm, when you say nothing and let the truth breathe, it rises. Slowly, but powerfully. This is where Stoic wisdom shows its strength. Marcus Aurelius once said, "If you are unaffected by what is said, you have already won." Let that settle for a moment. Your silence is not weakness, it's clarity. When you stop needing to fix every misunderstanding or chase every false rumor, you take back your energy. Because the truth, it doesn't need to be defended. It reveals it through time, through consistency, through who you are. I remember when someone spread false rumors about me. At first, I wanted to explain. I rehearsed how I'd respond, how I'd correct every lie. But then I stopped. I made a different choice. I focused on living in alignment with who I really am. I let my actions speak not for them, but for me. And slowly, the lies lost their grip. People began to see what was real. And the person who had been spinning stories, they revealed themselves through their own patterns. Because lies, don't age well. They crack, they contradict, and eventually they collapse. So, how do you handle people like this? First, don't engage. The moment you argue, you feed their lies with your attention. Second, let your character speak for you. The truth doesn't need a megaphone. It just needs time. And finally, remember, those who lie about others always say more about themselves than the ones they're talking about. At the end of the day, false words only hold weight if you carry them. So stand tall. Stay still. Let the storm swirl if it must, because in time it will clear. And the ones who matter will see exactly who stood firm. Now, let's move to another tactic people use when control slips from their hands. They play the victim. And yes, this one may be the most emotionally draining of all. Playing the victim is one of the most manipulative moves someone can use. When they can't dominate your choices, they'll try to dominate perception. They flip the script. Suddenly, you're the villain, and they're just hurt, misunderstood, mistreated. But why? Why do they do this? Because if they can't control you directly, they'll try to control how others view you. And here's the truth, it's not about justice. It's about avoiding accountability. These people twist facts, stretch the truth, exaggerate just enough to make themselves look innocent and helpless. And the more you try to explain or clear things up, the deeper you sink. Because now you look defensive, emotional, like you're trying too hard to deny something real. You ever seen someone give an Oscar-worthy performance? The trembling voice, the exaggerated pain, the gasps and tearsall while painting you as the one who hurt them? It's powerful, but only if you play along. If you jump on stage and start arguing, you've just joined the performance. But if you stay seated, silent, detached, something changes. The audience starts noticing. The story begins to feel off. People who fake victimhood thrive on reaction. Don't give them one. This is where Stoic philosophy comes back in. Epictetus once said, "A wise man does not allow others to dictate his emotions." That's the key. When you stay calm, when you refuse to be dragged into their act, you take away their spotlight. You don't have to expose them. Their patterns will. Just wait. You see, the moment you stay calm and let their act collapse on its own, you strip them of their power. I've dealt with people like this, those who play the victim the second they're confronted. There was someone in my life who kept crossing boundaries. And one day, I finally stood up for myself. I expected at least a moment of honesty or reflection, but instead they gasped, acted shocked, and told others I had attacked them. Just like that, I became the villain. At first, I wanted to explain. I wanted to defend myself, lay out every fact, and prove them wrong. But then, something told me to pause. I stopped. I didn't argue. I didn't try to justify anything. I simply let my actions speak. And you know what? With time, people saw through the performance. The truth always finds its way to the surface, because no matter how convincing someone's victim act may seem, lies unravel, and real character always shines through. So how do you deal with people like this? First, don't engage. The more you argue, the guiltier you look in their story. Second, let their own behavior expose them. The more they twist things, the more obvious it becomes to others. And finally, protect your energy. You don't owe anyone your peace. You don't need to prove anything. Truth, if left alone, has a remarkable way of surfacing. At the end of the day, people who use victimhood as a weapon only succeed when you give them an audience. So the best response? Stay calm, stay quiet, and let reality do the talking. Because in the end, the truth always outlasts the performance. Now, let's talk about another tacticone that's cold, strategic, and deeply calculated. When someone can't control you directly, they'll try to isolate you. Instead of coming to you face to face, they start working behind the scenes. They whisper doubts. They twist stories. They quietly influence your friends, coworkers, even family members, turning them against you one by one. But why? Why go through all that effort? Because your independence scares them. When you have strong relationships, when you're surrounded by people who believe in you, they can't manipulate you. So their goal becomes painfully simple. separate you from your support system, make you question your worth, make you feel alone. Here's the truth: isolation is not strength, it's a tactic of the weak. Those who thrive on control can't stand when someone thinks freely, so they divide and conquer subtly but relentlessly. Rumors, doubts, misunderstandings, anything to push you away from those who keep you grounded. Have you ever watched how predators in the wild work? A wolf pack doesn't attack a herd all at once. They isolate one target first, pull it away, make it vulnerable. Then they strike. Manipulators are no different. They don't come for you when you're standing strong, surrounded by allies. They wait until you're unsure or cut off, doubting yourself. That's when they move in. But here's the thing. Once you recognize this pattern, you can outsmart it. You can stop the spiral before it starts. Stoic wisdom offers a powerful reminder here. Seneca once said, "Associate only with those who improve you. Avoid those who would pull you down." That's the key. Surround yourself with those who strengthen you, not those who quietly chip away at your foundation. Real friends won't abandon you over whispers. They'll see through the lies, and those who turn against you, they were never meant to stay. I once knew someone who tried to isolate me. It started with little comments, just enough to plant a seed of doubt. I'm not sure you can trust them. Then came the exaggerations, the twisting of my words. At first, I felt frustrated. I wanted to confront them, clear the air. But then I realized, the more I fought back, the more I validated their manipulation. So instead, I stayed grounded. I focused on nurturing my real relationships. I remained consistent in my actions and let my character speak louder than anything they could say. And over time, people noticed. The truth surfaced. Those who mattered stayed. And the ones who believed the lies, they were never my people to begin with. And the truth is, the more I tried to fight back, the more power I gave them. Every reaction, every explanation, it just added fuel to their fire. So instead, I shifted my focus. I poured energy into the connections that were real, the people who had stood by me, not just when things were easy, but when things got messy. I stayed consistent in my actions, refused to gossip in return, and let my character speak for itself. And you know what happened? Over time, people saw the truth with their own eyes. No drama, no defense, just clarity. The ones who truly mattered, they stayed. And the ones who believed the lies, they were never meant to be part of my story anyway. So how do you deal with people like this? First, stay calm. The more emotionally you react, the more power you hand over. Second, nurture your real relationships. When people truly know your heart, they won't be fooled for long. And finally, don't chase those who drift away. If someone can be turned against you so easily, let them go. Because in the end, people who fear your independence may try to isolate you, but they can't break what's unshakable. Stay strong. Stay connected. And never forget, real relationships don't fall apart over someone else's lies. Now let's shift into something more subtle but equally dangerous. When people can't control you, they may not attack you outright. Instead, they'll start challenging your confidence. It sounds innocent at first, just a question here, a comment there, but slowly, they plant seeds of doubt. They make you second-guess your own decisions. They don't yell or criticize directly, they undermine you quietly. Why? Because if they can make you unsure of yourself, they gain power over you. Think about it. If someone can make you hesitate, you'll be more likely to seek their approval, to ask for their input, to change your course just to feel safe. And the more uncertain you are, the easier you are to influence. It's subtle manipulation disguised as concern. Imagine this: you're standing on a sturdy bridge, ready to walk across. You know it's strong. But then, someone nearby leans in and says, "Are you sure that bridge can hold you? What if it collapses?" You pause. You hadn't thought about that. Suddenly, doubt creeps in, not because the bridge is weak, but because their words shook your belief. That's how confidence works. Your judgment may be solid, but others can shake it if you let them. And here's where Stoic wisdom brings clarity. Epictetus once said, "A person's worth is not determined by external approval." True confidence doesn't come from getting agreement, it comes from trusting yourself. The moment you stop seeking validation and start owning your choices, you become immovable. I remember someone who constantly questioned me. Every decision I made was met with raised eyebrows or cautious phrases like, "Are you sure? That sounds risky." At first, I explained myself. I laid out my reasoning, defended my plans, tried to prove I was right. But slowly I realized something. They weren't challenging me because they had better insight, they were trying to make me doubt myself. That was the game. And one day, I stopped playing. They asked, "Are you sure?" I looked at them, smiled, and said, "Yes, I'm sure." That was it. No debate, no long explanation. And you know what? They had nothing left to say. Because confidence doesn't argue. It doesn't beg for validation. It just stands. So how do you handle people like this? First, trust yourself. If you've made a choice grounded in reason, integrity, and experience, stand by it. Second, stop over-explaining. The more you defend every move, the more they'll poke holes in your confidence. And finally, remember, their doubt isn't your truth. Just because someone questions you doesn't mean they're right. So never forget, just because someone questions your confidence doesn't mean they're right. Their doubt is a tool, not a truth. At the end of the day, your confidence is your power. And yes, people will test it, they'll question it, they'll poke holes in it, but they only succeed if you let them. So stand tall, trust yourself, and never allow someone else's insecurities to become your internal voice. Now let's talk about something even older, an age-old tactic used by people who can't control you logically or emotionally. It's called provocation. One of the oldest tricks in the book is simply trying to get a rise out of you. When they can't manipulate your choices or influence your mindset, they start poking at your emotions. They say things that frustrate, belittle, insult, or even mock you, not because they care about the truth, but because they want one thing: for you to explode. And the second you do, they win. They'll twist your words. They'll push just hard enough to trigger a reaction. Then, when you finally lose your cool, they step back and say, "See, I told you they were the unreasonable one." Suddenly, you're the villain and they walk away with the moral high ground, playing the victim. It's a setup. And the more emotionally reactive you are, the more effective their trap becomes. Think of your emotions like a flame and them as the wind. The more wind blows, the bigger the flame grows if you let it. But what happens when you stop feeding the fire? When you cover it, protect it, guard it? It slowly fades. That's why your calm, your centered stillness is your greatest weapon. Because when they can't make you explode, they have nothing left to use against you. This is where Stoic wisdom shows up again. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." That's the lesson here. Don't respond the way they expect. Refuse to play their game. When you stay calm, especially in the face of direct provocation, you strip them of power. You remain in control while they lose their grip. I remember a time when someone tried this with me. They pushed every emotional button they could. They brought up the past, twisted the present, and turned simple words into personal attacks. I could feel it, that burning heat rising inside. It was almost like my body wanted to react before my mind could catch up. But instead of snapping, I smiled and said, "Interesting perspective." That was it. No follow-up, no defense, no retaliation. And just like that, they froze. Their plan collapsed because it only worked if I gave them fuel. That was the moment I understood calm isn't weakness. It's power in its purest form. So how do you deal with people like this? First, recognize the pattern. If someone is clearly trying to provoke you, just pause and ask yourself, do they want a real conversation or just a reaction? Second, control your response. If you feel your emotions building, take a breath. Give yourself that tiny space between stimulus and response. And finally, walk away. Some arguments aren't worth winning. Some battles are better left unfought. Because sometimes, not engaging is the greatest victory of all. At the end of the day, your emotions belong to you. Don't let someone else pull the strings. If someone tries to provoke you, stay calm, stay steady, and let them burn themselves out. Because in the end, the strongest person in the room is the one who refuses to be controlled. And if you've made it this far into the video, I want to thank you. Your presence means more than you know. If this message resonated with you, take a moment to leave a comment. Maybe even type, "Thank God," if that's what's in your heart. And if you enjoyed this content, give it a like. It helps more than you think. Your support keeps this space alive and inspires me to keep going. I hope you found something valuable here, and I hope we'll keep learning and growing together. When provocation doesn't work, some people take a more subtle route that might feel oddly flattering at first, but slowly becomes unsettling. They start copying you. Yes, copying. It's one of the most frustrating yet revealing tactics people use when they can't control you, and they can't compete with you either. At first, it may seem harmless, maybe even a coincidence. You take a bold step, they follow with something strangely similar. You share a new idea, and suddenly they're saying it too, as if they thought of it first. But eventually, it hits you. They're not trying to compete anymore. They're trying to become you. When someone realizes they can't surpass you, their next instinct might be to mirror you, hoping that by doing what you do, they'll somehow absorb the same success without actually earning it. But here's the truth. No matter how closely someone copies your steps, they'll always be one behind. Imitation might fool others for a moment. It might even look convincing from a distance. But it can never replace authenticity. Think of it like a shadow trying to imitate the sun. A shadow only moves when the light moves. It follows, it stretches. But it can never glow on its own. That's what copying is. It's a lifeless echo of something real. And this is where Stoic wisdom steps in to ground you again. Seneca once said, "Character, not imitation, defines a person." You see, your true value isn't in what you do, it's in who you are. Someone can copy your words, your gestures, your style, even your strategy, but they can never copy your mind. They can't replicate your lived experiences. and they will never possess your essence, your inner world, your discipline, your presence. I remember someone who mirrored almost everything I did. Every time I made progress, they were right behind me. Every time I set a new goal, suddenly they were chasing the same thing. At first, it was infuriating. It felt like my work, my vision was being stolen in real time. But then, I noticed something. The more they copied, the more obvious it became they had nothing original to offer. And one day, I decided to switch things up. I changed my entire approach, my pace, my structure, even my methods. And just like that, they were lost. They didn't know what to do, because when you're always following, you never learn how to lead. That's when it clicked. Imitation isn't a compliment, it's a sign that you're ahead. So what should you do when someone keeps copying you? First, stop worrying. If they're imitating you, they're already behind. You're setting the pace, they're playing catch up. Second, keep evolving. The more you grow, the harder it becomes for anyone to mimic your path. Because growth requires inner work, and copying skips that step. And finally, don't mistake imitation for flattery. It's usually a reflection of insecurity. People copy what they don't have the courage to create. They mimic because they haven't yet discovered their own voice. At the end of the day, copies always fade. But originality, your originality will always last. So keep being yourself. Keep leading with purpose. And let the imitators struggle to keep up, because no matter how closely someone tries to replicate your path, they can never replace what makes you unique. Now let's move to a darker truth, something that's harder to detect, but even more toxic. Some people don't try to control you, compete with you, or copy you. They simply wait for you to fail. They smile in your face. They nod when you share your dreams. They say, "I'm happy for you." But behind those smiles is something colder, quiet resentment, because your success challenges them. And if they can't beat you, they'd rather see you fall. You've probably seen it before, people who act supportive but are secretly keeping score. They don't clap because they believe in you. They clap because they're waiting for the first stumble, the first crack, the first misstep. And when it comes, they're the first to whisper, "I knew it." But here's where their plan falls apart. They may be watching, hoping, even whispering behind your back, but their hope alone can't shake someone who's deeply grounded. Imagine a tree. A weak tree bends under pressure, under wind, under judgment. But a deeply rooted tree, one whose foundation is firm, it stands tall no matter how violently the storm rages. The people who silently wait for your failure, they're like gusts of wind. They make noise, they push, they swirl, but they can't bring you down unless you give them permission. The stronger your foundation is built from purpose, discipline, and self-belief, the less their opinions matter. And again, Stoic wisdom reminds us what really matters. Epictetus once said, "Do not waste energy on those who hope for your downfall. Your energy is sacred. Your mission is not to prove people wrong, it's to grow, to evolve, to become everything you were meant to be." I once had someone in my life who wore the mask of support, but beneath it they waited. They'd say things like, "Are you sure this will work?" Or, I hope you make it, but let's see." At first I brushed it off, but over time it became clear they weren't cheering me on. They were waiting for a stumble. And when I did hit a rough patch, they pounced. "See? Told you it wasn't that easy." That moment changed everything. I stopped explaining. I stopped seeking reassurance from those who doubted me. I poured my energy into growth and I succeeded. And when that happened, their silence said more than their fake support ever did. So how do you deal with people like this? First, recognize the signs. If someone shows up only when you're down, but disappears when you win, that's all you need to know. Second, stop proving yourself. Your success is not a performance for them to critique. It's a path for you to walk. And finally, success speaks for itself. Rise quietly, build relentlessly, because nothing disturbs the ones rooting against you more than seeing you rise when they swore you'd fall. At the end of the day, some people wait for your downfall like it's a show. Don't give them the satisfaction. Succeed anyway. Know if this message spoke to something inside you. Don't let it stop here. Subscribe to this channel so you never miss a reminder of your strength. Like this video if it gave you clarity, and explore the playlist Stoic Wisdom, Mastering Emotions and Inner Strength to keep sharpening your mind, your focus, and your resilience. This is more than content, this is your inner training ground. This is the Stoic Room, and your journey is just getting started.